UFC Vegas 70. These are the full card predictions and the betting breakdown. Main event, Nikita Krylov versus Ryan Spann. Looking forward to the card. Make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Turn those post notifications on and make sure to share the video as well. Also note, fight companion for this card going down Saturday for the entire thing. Make sure to tune into that. And let's get into our first fight of the night. It is Jose Johnson versus Garrett Armfield. I'm going to go with Garrett Armfield in this fight here. I think he has the better wrestling technique and positioning on the floor. Johnson's an athletic and really long guy. 5'6" to 6 foot. That's a big height difference. But I feel like it'll be kind of easy for Armfield to shoot in at the legs. Back Johnson up against the cage. We're also at the apex. If we had the bigger octagon, I think Johnson trying to strike from distance would be a big edge. Here, a few steps and he's already backed up. I see Armfield using the better wrestling to get on top. Johnson had a nice win over Jack Cartwright on the Contender Series, but there was moments where both guys were flipping position. I think Armfield will be more secure in that top spot, and I'm going to pick him to get this thing done. I feel like it's going to end up going the full 3 rounds. I'm going to say win for the more gritty wrestling style of Garrett Armfield against the tall kickboxer who can also grapple too in Johnson. Now, as far as the odds for this fight, Armfield around -150 and then Johnson at about +130. I like the Armfield pick. He's a slight favorite to win. He's also dropping a weight class too. Note that David Onama fight was up at 145. Granted, he's fighting a physical specimen down a weight class. The strength advantage, I think, will be better for him here. Against a big dude like Onama, that's kind of an issue. But he still had moments in that fight. I know they've had 2 fights with one another. I like Armfield's chances to beat Johnson. I'm going Garrett Armfield win by decision to start the night off. Let's keep running up. Next fight on the card. It is Hailey Cowan versus Ailin Perez. Now, Hailey Cowan obviously has the hype, but I'm not overly impressed by her game. I mean, 3 fights ago, she got tapped by a 1-2 fighter who I'll say has good jiu-jitsu. I'm picking Ailin Perez to win this thing. She's a solid grappler with a pressure-heavy style. She's nasty inside. She's one of those girls that's a little bit even dirty with her fighting. I remember I was watching her versus Tamaris Vidal in the Samurai Fight House promotion. They're fighting on like rainbow mats. It's not even like a legitimate mat. And she's kind of getting nasty with some dirty strikes. It ends up being a disqualification. You know, the Piotr Jan type knees to the head. But Ailin Perez following the rule set, I can see her out-muscling Hailey Cowan. I can see her being nasty in the clinch, making this a dirty fight. Cowan's, I think, best abilities are striking from distance. She does have decent throws, but I can see Perez reversing that spot. Obviously, Perez, the UFC debut, was a little bit of a washout. But in this matchup here against Cowan, I do think she's very live, and I can see her pulling this thing out, just being the nastier fighter. I remember thinking when Hailey Cowan got signed, she doesn't necessarily look UFC level to me. She looks like a developing fighter that could be a prospect for the UFC and somebody that's on the rise, but not, you know, ready to be signed, I guess, off the bat. They decided to go with her. Dana White says she's got the special thing. I'll say that special thing is she's blonde and pretty. I think that kind of carries her far. But Ailin Perez, I think, can send Cowan back. I'm not impressed by Cowan, so I'm not picking her here. I'm going Ailin Perez. Perez is a slight underdog, +125. Cowan around -135. I'm not sleeping on Ailin Perez here. I think she's going to make this a grueling and gritty fight. Also note, she's only 28. Hailey Cowan, she's young too at 31. She's not old. She's in her prime right now. Perez, I still think making constant improvements. And the Stephanie Egger loss, Egger's pretty top level with the grappling. I think Ailin Perez can win this thing. Not an easy fight, but she'll look better than her UFC debut, getting her hand raised by a gritty decision. Let's keep running. Next fight on the card, Nurullo Aliev versus Rafael Alves. I'm picking Nurullo Aliev, though he is kind of a Khabib Nurmagomedov knockoff. They call him the Mountain Eagle or the Tajik Eagle. Very Khabib-like. He looks like Khabib and Islam Makhachev decided to have a kid with one another. He really has like that combination look between the two. Now, he's got really good wrestling. He's got nasty ground and pound. He showcased it on the Contender Series. Alves is one of those guys who I feel like is a one-rounder bust type fighter. Super explosive, super powerful, jacked, and physically strong. But after that first round ends, he gets flat. The output drops a ton, and he tries to keep a lower output throughout because of the questionable gas tank. Aliev is going to put a high wrestling pace on him. One that Alves, I think, is going to have trouble sustaining. I think you're going to see Aliev control from top position. I know we got that big finish on Contender Series, but in this one here, I really feel like I could see them going the full 3. I'm going to say Nurullo Aliev with a unanimous decision. I could see him dropping the first round and then taking the second and third over Rafael Alves. As far as the odds for this one, Aliev is the favorite around -160, and then Rafael Alves is sitting around +145. Yeah, I like Aliev's chances a lot. The wrestling skills, he's only 23. The questionable gas tank of Alves. Yes, big power, but it's not like he's landing these super clean KO shots. I mean, you look at the UFC win, Mark Jacasey was a quick guillotine sub. Kind of got ran through by Drew Dober, and I think Aliev is going to put that wrestling pressure on him that Alves is going to be very uncomfortable with. He won't be able to lock in some crazy guillotine. I don't see it happening here with Aliev. I'm going for the Mountain Eagle, the Khabib doppelganger, to get it done with Nurullo Aliev. Let's keep running. Next fight on the card. This one is between Joe Solecki and Carl Deaton III. I'm going to pick Joe Solecki to win a decision. Deaton's been fighting through the regional scene. He was over at PFL. He's a gritty fighter. He's not an easy out, but I think Joe Solecki is definitely improving throughout the UFC. Win over Jim Miller, aged pretty well with Jim Miller having, a competitive, tough fight. We clearly lost against Fernandes, but one where he showed out a bit. Joe Solecki, I feel like in this one here, has a jiu-jitsu advantage. The striking of Deaton doesn't have a ton of power on it. He has decent strikes, but I don't know. I almost feel like more arm shots. He brings the pressure. He likes to grapple his opponents. I think he'll be out-positioned. The speed on the floor goes Solecki, and I think Joe Solecki's going to control this fight. I feel like they can probably go the full 3. I can see Deaton surviving here. He's not an easy guy to finish. I'm going to pick Joe Solecki to get it done on the scorecards. I don't love Joe Solecki's stand-up at all. I think at times a little bit stiff. Decent lead hook, but his head's sometimes just right there to be hit. But I don't think Carl Deaton III has the punching sting to put him out and really make him pay significantly here, which is why I'm riding Joe Solecki for the win. As far as the odds, they are nasty wide, -500. Solecki, Deaton +420. This is more to me of a 2-to-1. I don't think the skill set is vast enough to say -500. That's Dagestan line here. I don't think Carl Deaton is awful. He's a tough, solid fighter with good experience. Beat Justin James, who's a UFC vet and has a win in the UFC. But yeah, I'm going to pick Joe Solecki to beat him. He'll out-grapple him. He'll get better positions on the floor. Win, unanimous decision, Joe Solecki. But -500, nasty wide. Next fight on the card, O'Day Osbourne versus Charles Johnson. I'm picking Charles Johnson with knockout. I feel like he's going to put hands on O'Day Osbourne. O'Day is so quick from the outside, and he's got really fast kicks and punches, but the hands are always low. Charles Johnson's a good kickboxer, too. He closes the gap well, and he hits with power punches. Yeah, his last fight, he was beating up Jimmy Flick, and it was a little bit of an early stoppage. I'll agree. I know Jimmy Flick protested it. It was early. They could have waited. But Charles Johnson still's got power in the hands. The way O'Day Osbourne stands with the hands low, I see him getting caught. And you look at O'Day Osbourne's UFC wins. This Vergara fight was very close. Vergara finished super strong in that one. Zaruk Adeshev, yes, nice knockout and all, but 4-3 record. This is a guy who's more so just a pure kickboxer that's undersized and commits to MMA and then gets sniped out. Not too shocking in this one. And then Tyson Nam just put the hammer on O'Day Osbourne in the last one. Flatline KO in a fight that O'Day Osbourne looked like he was doing well early because he's doing a lot, but it takes one. The question mark, a little bit on O'Day Osbourne's chin at this point. He's been finished a few times, and I don't want to say he's got the glass slipper jaw, but if you hit him clean, you can buckle the legs and put him out. Charles Johnson can definitely hit clean. He's a pretty accurate kickboxer. He's a physically strong guy. I think he can out-grapple O'Day Osbourne too. I'm going Charles Johnson for the win, and I'm saying knockout victory for him here. Johnson, -185 as the favorite. Osbourne, the plus 165 dog. I like Johnson in the favorite status to get this thing done, and I think he's going to get a KO in this fight. He's coming together in the UFC, man. He fought Mokaev early. That was a really, really dangerous matchup to debut against, and he clearly lost. He's got some wins now, and I think he gets a nice one here versus a striker. This is a fun fight. Next fight on the card brings us to the Monkey King, Jordan Leavitt versus Victor Martinez. I'm going to pick Jordan Leavitt in this fight. I know he has kind of horrendous stand-up. It's very awkward and slow, but I see him getting to the legs of Victor Martinez, taking him down, getting on top, taking the back. I think he can do fairly good work on the ground. Jordan Leavitt's jiu-jitsu skills are really solid. His wrestling base is super heavy. It's awkward for sure, and he's not like a super athletic grappler, but he's very strong positionally, and he just controls the spot with that heavy top pressure. Victor Martinez is pretty nasty with the stand-up, a guy willing to sit in there and bang. Good multi-shot punch combinations in close. Oblique kicks that are good, but I think the wrestling is the danger here. I feel like he's going to be on his back and then maybe even get his back taken. I'm going to go Jordan Leavitt to win by submission. No, I don't see him dropping Victor Martinez. We have seen Martinez drop before. I don't think Jordan Leavitt's going to put hands on him like that with closed fists. I think he's going to take him down, pepper ground and pound, work towards submission. Jordan Leavitt to get the hand raised. And listen, it's a loss to Paddy Pimblett for Jordan Leavitt. It is what it is. Paddy Pimblett, I know we can shit on him after the Jared Gordon fight, but he's still a tricky grappler and a guy that beats the more back-end lightweights. Jordan Leavitt, he beats a Victor Martinez, a debuting Martinez. So we're riding with the Monkey King by sub. As far as the odds, Jordan Leavitt is actually a very slight dog at plus 100. And then Victor Martinez, I mean, you can find him at plus money too. It's essentially near pick'ems. Minus 110, minus 110, minus 105 Leavitt, minus 115 Martinez. It's a pick'ems fight. I'm going Jordan Leavitt and win by submission in this matchup. I think he's lost a bit of stock because that Paddy lost, but I'm not sleeping on those ground skills. Next fight on the card, it brings us to the featured prelim of the night. Gabriela Fernandes versus Jasmine Jasudavicius. I like Gabriela Fernandes. As I watch this girl strike, I'm like, oh, she looks like she could be a problem at 125. She's a slick kickboxer. She's only 29, 8-1 record, solid. I think she beats Jasudavicius in the striking. I think she has the better jiu-jitsu. You got to watch for those body kicks of Fernandes. It's honestly like a pleasure to watch a girl with that type of Muay Thai. She's a southpaw, but her left leg is so fast and precise. It has a nasty snap to it. She's got punching power. She's got good combinations. Watch for the guillotines. Jasudavicius, I'd say she's a solid enough striker, but doesn't shine in the Muay Thai like a Gabriela Fernandes does. She's not nearly as quick or explosive. I see Jasudavicius trying to pressure Fernandes, and she's getting touched up with punches. I see her potentially on her back here. I think she could get hurt bad, but I really think what's going to happen? Choke, potentially guillotine choke. I'm going submission win for Gabriela Fernandes. I see her beating Jasmine Jasudavicius, and I really feel like she's a Brazilian girl to watch right now at 125. I like the skill set from what I saw. In LFA, I mean, 8-1 record. She's a quality fighter. She's, not fought the top tier, but I mean, 9-4, that's an experienced fighter. 10-9, and 3-0. Like, there's still names there that she's beating. She's not getting, just salamis thrown at her. You see the loss to Natalia Silva. I don't think Natalia Silva has the striking like Gabriela Fernandes. I think Fernandes is going to look crisp and put on a good display against Jasmine Jasudavicius. So I'm feeling confident Fernandes wins. As far as the odds, about minus 120 for Gabriela Fernandes. Jasudavicius sitting around plus 110. I like the chances for Gabriela Fernandes to win her debut impressively against Jasmine Jasudavicius. Let's jump to the main card. If you guys haven't yet, make sure to smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe. It's Erick Gonzalez versus Trevor Peek. It's two gritty brawlers. I'm going with Trevor Peek. I mean, he's proven to be able to come back from adversity. This is a guy that, gotten touched up, dropped, hurt bad, continues to keep coming forward. That's why he signed to the UFC, because he's got that junkyard dog style. Erick Gonzalez can crack too and does have a bit of power, but he was knocked out bad against Jim Miller. He then got absolutely ran over by Terrence McKinney. I'm not sleeping on Trevor Peek's wrestling skills, and definitely don't sleep on his gas tank. This is a guy that can go hard and keep coming. I see him breaking Gonzalez, beating him down, Potentially submission or knockout, I think, is live here. I like finish for Trevor Peek. My official call, I am going to lean it towards getting a ground and pound TKO, potentially of a tired Erick Gonzalez, who sat down and banged with Peek, maybe even hurt him early, but ultimately got cracked with the bigger shots, put down, and then finished off. Watch for those overhand bombs from Trevor Peek too, because if they land, they do real damage. I'm going Peek to win, and I think he's getting the finish. As far as the odds for this matchup right here, Gonzalez plus 165 dog, Trevor Peek around minus 175 as the favorite. I'm going with Trevor Peek to win it, and I think he's getting a finish. I'm going to say knockout. Ultimately, good fight. Inside the distance, I like a lot for Trevor Peek here. He's getting it done. Fun fight. Fun fight. That might be fight of the night, honestly. Next one, it is Mike Malott versus Yohan Lainesse. I got to go Mike Malott here. Yohan Lainesse is just a low output power puncher who likes to do pot shots. Whereas you look at Mike Malott, this is a combination striker with real good speed. He's got power in his hands too, but it's the fact that he's throwing these combos at you and he hits you fast that stuns you. Lainesse, it's more of a heavy, loaded up, one-shot bomb. I see Malott being able to counter him. I think the gas tank of Lainesse is a serious question mark. I see him probably getting tired if Malott's putting a high pace on him and Lainesse is not able to slow things down. I don't think he's going to be able to. I think we're going to see Malott get the KO. I'm thinking like second round knockout in this fight. He's going to put the hands on Yohan Lainesse and put him out. A tired Lainesse too. The low volume is a concern. I see him getting countered. Malott's going to be landing more, wearing on Yohan Lainesse and eventually finishing him off. I'm going Mike Malott to win the battle of the Canadians in this welterweight fight right here. Now, as far as the odds for this one, Malott is a fair-sized favorite around minus 220, and then Yohan Lainesse sitting at around plus 190. I like Mike Malott to get this thing done. I'm going to say he does get the knockout too. He knocked out Mickey Gall pretty damn clean. Lainesse is like barely squeaking by Darian Weeks in the last one. I like Mike Malott's punching, man. I think he's getting the KO. Next fight, we get the return of Tatiana Suarez. She fights Montana De La Rosa. I think Tatiana Suarez is just going to have her way with the wrestling. De La Rosa is a pretty solid wrestler in her own right and has good grappling tools that she'll put on her opponents. But Suarez, when she was at her best, her heyday of her career, she's dominating girls on the ground. She's like bullying these girls that are good with their grappling, like a Carla Esparza. She's beating her up. If Suarez gets on top, she's a menace. She's hard to be removed from that top position. She gets on you and you're smothered. You're done. I think that Tatiana Suarez here is going to, kind of bring back the OG game. It's up a weight class at flyweight. She's going to be a little shorter here. Her opponent's got a 2-inch height advantage. I think she'll be on takedowns. Expect chain wrestling. Yes, it's a long layoff. Over 3 years for Tatiana Suarez, and she comes back at minus what, 700? Suarez is minus 750 best value. That's crazy wide. I still see her winning the fight, but I wouldn't like to see minus 750 for a girl coming back after a long, long layoff. This is years ago that she fought, and she beat Nina Nunez the last time out. Good wrestling in that fight. She's going to put the wrestling on Montana De La Rosa and win it. Wish it was a more playable tag because I'm feeling real good about her winning, but as are the bookies here having it at minus 750. So we're going Tatiana Suarez to get the win. A dominant wrestling attack. I do think they go the full 3. I'm going to go Suarez unanimous decision over Montana De La Rosa. Let's keep running to our featured bout of the night. Augusto Sakai versus Don'Tale Mayes. I got to go with Don'Tale Mayes because Sakai looks terrible these days. He's on a bad losing streak, 4 fights in a row. He's looking slower and slower with his stand-up. The punch resistance is really not there at this point. I feel like you touch him clean, he's going to go down. And I don't think of Don'Tale Mayes as the one-hitter quitter like a Derek Lewis or like a Jairzinho Rosenstruik or even like a, Ngannou type level power. But he's got some crack. He hits hard. I mean, Hamdi Abdullah Wahab in the last fight got cracked by Don'Tale Mayes. Granted, Abdullah Wahab ends up winning the decision. They call it a no contest because he's taking steroids. You got clean fighter Augusto Sakai across from a menace and Don'Tale Mayes, who's a very big dude at 6'6", long arms. Unless Augusto Sakai can wrestle all night, I don't think he's going to be able to. I feel like he's getting the lights put out. Momentum is a big factor in this fight. It's a big factor in the sport in general. You lose 4 fights all by finish in a row. Yeah, they're against some top caliber guys at heavyweight. I don't think Sakai's going to have the confidence. He doesn't know what it's like to be winning fights anymore. He looks slower. He's young, too. He's only 31, but he looks bad. I think Don'Tale Mayes is going to KO him. I'm very questionable about Augusto's chin at this point. I think it might be gone. It might be the glass slipper, and it's going to take one big shot from Don'Tale Mayes to flatline him. Sakai's game is going to be clinch pressure. He's going to try to hold Mayes. I think when he hits, or when he gets hit, rather, he's going to feel it, and the legs are going to fumble, and he's going down. So we're going Don'Tale by knockout. Odds for this fight, Don'Tale slight dog at about plus 105. You can see Sakai's around minus 115 as the favorite. I'm going with Don'Tale Mayes by knockout. I got to go with the guy that has some positive momentum in his favor as opposed to Sakai, who's on a 4-fight losing streak. And I remember watching Sakai in Bellator, and he never impressed me years ago. And then he got to the UFC, and he looked all right. But I've never thought he was all that great, but I fell into the trap of believing he improved so much. But this 4-fight losing streak, I think a Don'Tale Mayes, with the kind of boxing skills that he's got, the stinging power in his hands, enough so, he's going to knock Sakai unconscious. I'm going Mayes by KO. Fun featured bout. Co-main event of the evening, Andre Muniz versus Brendan Allen. I'm going Andre Muniz. You know, I'd love to tell you guys I'm picking Brendan Allen, but I'm not. I can't pick Brendan Allen here. I think Muniz's jiu-jitsu is just too much of a problem, and I feel like his striking, he's going to be there with Brendan Allen. I know Allen is probably the better and faster pure kickboxer, but we can all agree Brendan Allen doesn't have punching power. It's going to take someone with a bit of sting and the takedown defense and grappling skills to really get to Muniz. I feel like Muniz is going to be on Brendan Allen throughout the whole thing with the grappling. Allen early will be able to fend off attacks. I think Muniz will surprise him a bit with the stand-up. And then Muniz eventually is going to get to him. And I think that Andre Muniz can pull this thing out inside the distance by sub. He's got really nasty body kicks too. Arnold Allen, as much as I've seen him get better, this matchup is kind of a stylistic nightmare. It's a guy who is going to bring better jiu-jitsu than he's got. A more physically imposing force, really. And Allen doesn't hit with a ton of sting. I got to go Muniz to win. I do think Muniz is suspect to being flatlined by somebody. I just don't think Brendan Allen's going to be the dude that puts the punching power on him and knocks him out. And you'll say, oh, but the last fight he went the distance with Uriah Hall. True, but note this. Uriah Hall was never submitted throughout his entire MMA career. Brendan Allen got submitted before, and I think he's going to get submitted again. I'm going Muniz, win by submission. And I'm excited to see what the future holds for this jiu-jitsu fighter. Odds are wide for Muniz. He's about minus 185. Allen around plus 184. I like Muniz to get the hand raised. I think he's getting it done by submission. Allen is a tough test, and I can see this thing being competitive early. But Muniz, I do think, eventually gets the finish. Win by sub. Andre Muniz, Brazilian submission threat right now. He's breaking the arms of Jacare. I think he can tap out Brendan Allen, too. Main event of the evening. If you guys haven't, make sure to smash the likes. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. It's Nikita Krylov and Ryan Spann. I am picking Nikita Krylov because he's a guy that is proven to be able to go longer in fights. And he also's got the grappling chops. And we know he's got some decent punch resistance too. He's been finished by knockout one time. It was his UFC debut against Soa Palele so many years back. This was his first UFC run. I remember watching it live. And I was like, this guy Krylov, he's got no gas tank. I never thought he'd be any good. And now he's a ranked light heavyweight. That was up at heavyweight too. He's been in there with the big boys, and Krylov's chin holds up pretty well. He's got quality striking. Yeah, Ryan Spann is an explosive powerhouse, and he looked incredible against Dominic Reyes. But let's note this. That was the corpse of Dominic Reyes. Was it an impressive knockout? Fuck yes. Even against the worst version of Dominic Reyes. But it told us something we already knew. Ryan Spann, when he hits you with clean power strikes, can put out majority of light heavyweights. Nikita Krylov is not a majority of light heavyweights. Nikita's also in his prime right now. He's got the wrestling in the back pocket. Like I said, he's durable. He's a good kickboxer in his own right. And Ryan Spann's gas tank is going to be a huge question mark. adversity that he gets into, normally he gets finished off. And I think Nikita Krylov's going to finish him here. I'm going submission win for Nikita Krylov. I think Spann in the first round, the first 4 minutes of this fight, he could be super live for a flash KO. But realistically, as this fight goes longer and longer and longer, Nikita Krylov can break him. This is Orion Spann. I know you'll say, oh, this was, a while back. He struggled at times with Sam Alvey, and it was a split decision. I know MMA math is bullshit, but we have to look at those performances. If he can't get you out of there in the early rounds, realistically round 1, maybe a little bit into round 2, I think he's getting finished off. I'm going Krylov by sub. I'm seeing it in the 2nd or 3rd round. I don't think Spann's style is made for 5 rounds. It's made more for 3-round fights where he's getting you out in the first round. He's going to be, I think, brought to the deep waters by Krylov. He might have a little bit of success in the stand-up early. Krylov, I do think, will find strikes too. Eventually finds takedowns, gets on top of Ryan Spann, takes his back, and I think he'll strangle him. So I'm going Nikita Krylov win by submission over Ryan Spann. As far as the lines, Krylov slight favorite, minus 155-ish, minus 160. Ryan Spann about plus 150 as the dog. I understand Ryan Spann is one of those, fighters that look so nasty in the last one. Everybody probably wants to jump on it, especially at the plus money right here. But you got to remember, Nikita Krylov takes really good shots. And Volkan Oezdemir touched him up in that last one. Well, he was still able to go long. He gave Magomed Ankalaev a pretty tough fight too. I'm not sleeping on I'm not sleeping on Nikita Krylov. I'm definitely not sleeping on Ryan Spann either. But my pick in this one, it's got to be Nikita Krylov win. And I'm going to call it by submission in the main event. UFC Vegas 70 is a pretty banger card. I think we're going to be blessed this weekend. Make sure you tune into the Fight Companion. Like I said, I'll be live for the entire thing. You don't want to miss it. Smash the likes here. Definitely let me know your main event pick, especially. Do you agree with my take on Nikita Krylov? Or are you guys going dog money on Ryan Spann? Much love, my people. Plenty of content dropping all week. You don't want to miss a thing. So make sure you're subscribed, and you also got those post notifications on too. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.